All right. Hello and welcome everybody back to the Game Dev Show. I'm here with Andrew and Johnny today, and I think we might have a couple more people pop in later on. We're going to be answering questions and just talking about some general game development topics today. I don't think there's any big single topic, just lots of little stuff to go on about and share. Before we get going, though, Johnny, you mentioned right before we got in, and I haven't asked you any questions about it yet, that you're doing a VR hackathon right now, or that's something that's going on. Is that like live right now, or is it coming up? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I'm co-hosting this VR hackathon with this company that I've done some things with called Dimension X. And basically, they've created this whole kind of metaverse creators community. It's like, pretty agnostic for any kind of game engine. So they just kind of want to make this community of people who are building things for the metaverse. Doesn't matter if you're a Unity developer, Unreal developer, or whatever. It's just kind of like a good positive community in that sense. So they want to do some more things, kind of like community type events, where they have kind of like hackathons and things like that. So actually, a couple months ago, we did a DoTs hackathon, and then going on right now, we're doing a VR hackathon. So basically, the way that it works is kind of separated into two phases. So the first phase is kind of like an open learning phase where you can just kind of learn VR development, experiment with it. If you don't have any VR development experience, this is just kind of like a time to kind of encourage people to just kind of learn. And there's kind of no competition crunch or anything at this time. So basically, we just kicked that off on Friday, and then that goes on for a week. And then so this Friday coming up, that's when the actual kind of competition part of the hackathon starts. So it's going to be another week-long period where basically we're going to announce a theme, and then you're going to create a VR game or experience based off of that theme. And there are going to be some cash prizes. So I think there's a total of $4,000 in prizes available. So it's definitely going to be an exciting one. And so yeah, again, still kind of at the beginning here, so you have plenty of time if you want to kind of join in for that kind of learning and exploration phase. And then again, this Friday we're going to be kicking off the competition in the main.
That sounds pretty cool. What kind of games do you, I guess you can't really spoil the thing, but it'll just be VR games, some sort of VR stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be a game. Again, we're kind of it being like a metaverse type thing. You can kind of make some type of experience or what have you. But yeah.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting. It's been a while since I did much VR stuff, so every time I get to hear about it, I get kind of excited to see what's new and what's going on. I'll have to check that out and see kind of what happened there. I know there's a Ukraine hackathon coming up too, or going on. I think right now it might be going on right now. I think judging is about to happen for that sometime soon too. Lots of cool hackathons and stuff. Andrew, you got anything cool going on before we get going?
Nope, I'm just stealthily making my new stuff that will be cool once it's finished. I keep feature creeping my own projects, so they're taking longer and longer.
That's the life of a game developer. Huh? You're still working on the RPG, right?
I'm doing the RPG, so the game modules is the asset that is powering the RPG and everything else. I'm going to make other demos for the game modules package because it can be used in any game. It doesn't have to be used in an RPG, but the current demo I'm working on that. So at the same time that I'm updating the package to V4, major update, redoing everything, refactoring everything, adding new features, all this stuff, I'm also going to use that for my project, which is an RPG. And so the first demo project is essentially my project, but without all the graphics and stuff. It's all the back end stuff, all the database stuff, all the logic between connections and different things that make it just automatic. So once that's done, it's easy to just make the game without having to worry about all the nuts and bolts.
Okay, so you got like the full-on RPG, just without the art and maybe all of the content. You have some sample content, a gray box sword, and you go add your own sword model and pick your own stats, right?
Yeah, that's the idea. Is I mean, like with the game modules, it's like, okay, what kind of game do you want to make? First of all, decide that, and then for an RPG, maybe you start with stats. Okay, well, we need stats, and then you say, okay, well, we need some items. We got in the new version, there's a demo actor that you can inherit from. So that has all the logic on it to run the system. So as long as you inherit from that, it will do everything automatically, including updated stats. So if you've got a Metroidvania character and you've got stats like health and energy or whatever, you could do a sci-fi 2D side scroller. It's just the system just handles all of that math and logic for you and the automatic updates. You just have to set it up and then hook into it and then, do your graphics and stuff. The game does the game modules doesn't tell you how to control your character. It doesn't create a character controller for you. It doesn't say it has to be top down, doesn't have to be 3D, doesn't have to be 2D. You can do whatever you want. So I'm also going to make a demo for a tower defense and probably like a very light Civ game, just to show like, okay, you can even make a Civ game. Here's a few starring characters, and then you can show the stats. The idea is just to show stats and show how you can relationship all these things together.
Nice. I think it's an interesting system. It'd probably be helpful for a lot of people, especially when you have your examples and they're showing how you've kind of built your own game off of it. 'Cause it's kind of like the core of a game, just a little bit more extensible, so multiple people can use it. Just I think super handy, and it's kind of like the extension of a game engine, right? It's like,
and that's exactly what it's meant to be. I mean, I started it, a couple of years ago when I went to the asset store and I looked for a game system so I wouldn't have to do all this. And I tried a few out, but they all basically, they were a little opinionated in that if you wanted to use their system, you also had to make a game that kind of looked like their system. And so that, it's very convenient. Those are for if you don't want to deal with a character controller. Well, there's one in there. If you don't want to deal with a camera system, well, there's one in there. And I was like, but I want my own character control. I want mine to be different. And it got to the point where it was pretty clear that if I wanted to make my game the way I wanted it to, I could use a lot of their stuff, but then I'd have to rework a lot of their stuff in order to make my project work with that system. And so I wanted a system that was the opposite. I wanted a system that allowed you to make your game and take from it only what you really wanted to take from it.
That makes sense. And you've definitely built that. So people should go check it out. While we're talking about things of yours to check out, let me pop up the battle sound library. And then I want to take some questions that started popping up. There's one for Johnny, and I think there was a couple others. So the battle sound library, this is your audio pack?
This has been in the store for a little bit, but it's got a little buried for a while, but I think recently it got a little bit easier in the store to find audio for one reason or another. But it was all fully created by a wonderful sound designer over in England. And it's got weapon sounds, so it's more fantasy based, but weapon sounds and also magic sounds. And there was a major update at one point for magic sounds. And like my stuff, it's customizable. So every sound has 5 variants, or give or take 5 variants. Most of them have 5 variants, with the idea being that and three combinations, 5 variants. So you basically can mix and match these sound parts together, either at runtime, or you can use a tool in this package to just export pre-compiled clips that are customizable and combine them together. So if you've got a sword, then you use the sword. And then if the bad guy is wearing armor, you can use the sword on metal. If they're wearing no armor, you can use the sword on flesh. Then you can randomize between those so that every hit sounds slightly different. And then if the sword is a sword of fire, add in that fire, there's multiple. So add one of the fire things on top of it, and now you've got the same sounds, but now with a little added magic thing on top of it. So there's a lot of ways you can combine it at runtime, which is great. But if you're constrained on how many clips you can have or whatnot, you can also export the clips into audio clips themselves. So now instead of having 5 times 5 times 5 all mixed together, you can just have one, basically, that you pre-compiled, and it's just one clip for sword on fire or fire sword on flesh, and you just put it together. So
if you don't need it as dynamic, that is cool. You get like all the different variations instead of having that same sound. And do you have some sample scripts in there that then you said you have them that generate them? Do they also do the runtime thing?
Not the runtime thing. I don't know. I don't think there's a runtime thing.
There probably is.
Actually, there probably is. Now that I think about it, there probably is. Now, knowing me, it's been a while since I actually opened it because it just works. It's audio. It doesn't require much updates in that regard. But I think they're actually. Yes, I think there is, because I remember I put in a thing that allows you to delay certain sounds by a little bit. So if you want the whoosh, clank, like a wish clank, you can delay the clank just a little bit to get a more precise sound for your animations, because some animations are longer than others and whatnot. So you can customize it to fit your animations too. The sound is all recorded by a dude in his kitchen. So and then so I think there's issues with when people have questions about legality and IP, and I think perhaps a lot of the stuff that people make can sometimes be taken from other libraries, mixed together, and maybe, you know, whether they have the rights to do that, I don't know. But for this one, I guarantee you, the guy, he did it. It's his thing, and this is why I've only made the one, because he's expensive, and I can't make more because it's too expensive to make more, because it's a real human getting paid.
I could see that, because you got to make sure that they're not just going and grabbing it off some CD that they got in the 90s and
there's a ton of sound libraries online right now, and if you've got a couple $100 and you want higher quality sound, you can go to these sound libraries and get really great sounds that are all, you know, IP free. Like you can use them, you can trust them. They're more expensive. You're going to pay like $200 or $600 a year for the subscription, but there's a lot out there. I think what some people basically do is take from those, combine them, maybe shift the tone a little bit around, and then make it their own and say this is new, but
they bundle them up. So Johnny, there's a question about dots that I don't know if you know the answer to, or if you're allowed to say if you do know the answer. It says dots is going to 1.0 in the 2022 LTS, correct? They're checking. I think that was my understanding, at least.
Yeah,
but I'm not completely sure. And then, do you know when that's going to happen? Has there been any announcement on this?
Yeah, so just kind of a little bit of context. So the current state of dots is there is a pre-release version of the 1.0 just out right now. There was a minor update to it just a couple weeks ago. I did put up a video on the channel kind of talking about it. It's a pretty minor update, so it seems like, you know, we're getting really closer to that, you know, full production ready release for it. You know, the kind of intended plan has always been for dots 1.0, the production ready version, to come out alongside or within the kind of release window of the 2022 LTS. I haven't heard anything to the contrary of that, but we also don't have any, you know, official announcements from Unity at this time. But you know, we got GDC coming up here in a couple weeks, and I'd assume that we'd learn a little bit more information about, you know, when you know, what the kind of more official timelines for those things are looking like.
Yeah, they do tend to make announcements and timeline videos and all that stuff. Like they'll do their at least from what I remember, they do like the kind of like the overview of the plan and release cycles. At least I think they did that at the last one. I assume that they'll probably do something similar.
Yeah, yeah. The LTS version, it usually comes out kind of in the spring, and, you know, the timing kind of lines up with GDC and everything. So that's typically kind of the case. So,
and GDC for everybody, that's coming up in what, 3 weeks now? It's a March 20th.
Game Developers Conference, San Francisco, California. Going to be an exciting time as always.
Johnny, you'll be there?
Absolutely.
Excellent. We'll have to grab a beverage of some sort.
Oh, indeed.
Yes, I'll be there as well. We'll have a good time. Should be a lot of fun. And if you can't make it, we also have GameDev Guild coming up in May. So it's quite a bit cheaper. You don't have to travel in person. It's all online, and the link is in the description. I don't think it's open yet, but we'll probably open up the early bird registration sometime this week, I think, if we can get it all finished up. We'll see. But if you're going to be at GDC, by the way, send me a message and let me know. You can hang out and chat. I'm going to be running around the expo floor talking to people probably most of the time and hanging out. You'll probably see me with Johnny, and if you can't find me, just look. Johnny's like 3 feet taller than I am, so it'd be much easier to find. So is Andrew, though. Just look for one of them. You'd be able to find me a lot easier.
I assume GDC will be pretty busy for all of us, but I think we're maybe trying to plan together some kind of meetup with some other creators. So we'll give a little bit more concrete information when we kind of have that all sorted out.
Great.
Yeah, I expect it to be a lot of fun, though. So there was a question about doing tool development, and I'm going to scroll up and find it. And I think this is kind of for Andrew, but I think maybe for everybody. It says, can SDK/tool development in Unity be a good start for someone who wants to work on game development? Now, I guess two things here. Like, can you make money doing it? And is it a good thing, like, in your game dev path? Is it going to get you towards doing actual game development? Anybody want to take this first?
Oh, I think I know what Jason will say on this one. I have a feeling, sneaky suspicion. I'm going to say that yes, it's a great way to start. A couple of reasons. One, if you are going to try and make money on the asset store, tools are the most popular stuff. If you look at the popular things on the asset store, tools are the most popular things. So there's money to be made to augment your time, but also it helps you teach or helps you learn things that, you know, when you're doing it, in my experience at least, when I made the game, I'm focused on how do I move? How do I do this? How do I do the nuts and bolts of moving a box from here to there, making the box explode, stuff like that. And that's great for making the game, but you're not learning necessarily all the background stuff, all the architecture stuff that you would really need to make a larger game very efficient. And I have found that through my tool development, either through even the simple things like the audio pack and making scripts for that, the inspector scripts for that, and now the game modules, I've learned way more through that process than I ever did from making the game itself. And I think that, you know, that background will make the game better. It's also fun for me. I enjoy it. I think, Jason, I think you've enjoyed making that kind of stuff, doing tool development in the past. And so I think if you don't hate it, then yeah, I think it's a great way to learn.
Yeah. And I think tool development, you know, they talk about, is it a good place to start for someone who wants to work in game development? I definitely think so. I feel like tool development is something that's always kind of in need in the games industry. Like if you look at job postings, like you can find tons of job listings from like, you know, Rockstar and some of the highest, like, you know, most prestigious, you know, game dev studios who are looking for tool developers. So, you know, if you do want to get into kind of the AAA side of things, I think, you know, tool development is a great way to kind of, you know, go about it. And I've also just kind of heard a lot from people who are tool developers that they, you know, kind of get into that and then, you know, really like it because, you know, when you're working on a game for, you know, months and months and years, you know, you don't really get as immediate of feedback for like the things that you're kind of like building. Because, you know, again, it can be, you know, years before someone, you know, actually plays your game for the first time. Whereas when you're doing tool development, you know, you have a meeting with some, you know, artist or designer and you build something out in a week and then you give it to them and then you get immediate feedback from them. You say, oh, this just, you know, 10x my productivity, you know, thank you so much. Like you get that very tight kind of feedback loop on that. And you feel like you're kind of having like a bigger impact on people, you know, doing tool development. So I think that's a super interesting aspect about it as well.
Yeah, you definitely get that like immediate feedback, and it's almost always positive feedback, and except for like the case where you accidentally destroy everybody's data or something.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you're getting positive stuff. People aren't saying like you're an idiot, your tool is stupid, and you know I hate the way because this class is better than this other class or some crap, which is what the designers end up getting a lot of the time. They'll get some praise and some people that love it, and they'll get lots and lots of hate too. As a tool developer, probably not going to get much hate unless you, like I said, make a big mistake. Aaron had mentioned in chat though that it's definitely not like a way to learn coding and an easier way to get in that. But if you already know the coding and you can already kind of do the tool stuff, then it's certainly a good way to get into the industry. Like I said, there are lots of jobs that are out there hiring for those that people don't apply for nearly as often. I feel like those positions get a lot less applicants than a gameplay position. If they're more like graphics programmer jobs where the people applying for them is a much smaller pool. It's not that huge supply of like everybody who's ever wanted to make game stuff. So I don't know, were there other questions? There was one comment I wanted to pull up because I thought it was cool. And it said, I wanted to let you know that the mastermind group I'm part of that you helped organize has started working on a group project. Nice. And they started designing and planning a few weeks ago. I think this is awesome. And I still think that everybody who's doing game development or trying to do something and like progress in whatever the thing is should form some sort of a mastermind group with 3 to 4 other people doing about the same thing, just meet weekly and talk about it, figure things out. Sometimes it turns into group projects or collaborations or other things, but it always leads to, in my experience, increased productivity and just kind of that accountability, that extra factor that kind of makes you get stuff done and move ahead on stuff. So that's super exciting, and congrats on that. And I noticed this chat too, or this message about Chat GPT too, about giving up on using Chat GPT to write classes, but have been using it to make methods now instead. And that's kind of what my experience was too with the current version of Chat GPT. It's really good at telling me how to do smaller scale things, but less when it came to the bigger context. And I know that Bing just got their new version of it in there, but I haven't got access to it. I hit the button to request access and I haven't got it yet. So I've been wanting to play around with that. Have you guys tried that out yet, or?
Oh yeah, Johnny, what you know?
I haven't used the Bing version yet, but yeah, I've heard it says some interesting things sometimes.
Yes. Yes, the AI. I think we're all going to have to get used to the AI being a little wonky from time to time, and also, being good people to it, so that we don't purposely try and make it say stupid things. But it's fun for a while. I did make it give me a cigarette ad aimed at kids with a cute character, and it was straight up made an ad from the '80s, and I was like, all right, well,
that's wonderful.
But no, for code, I think it's great. I use it every day. I've got it up whenever I'm coding. I now go to it first before I go to Google. Sometimes I still go to Google. I don't always trust it. I think the big thing is you have to be smart enough to know what it's saying. You can't just trust it. It's like any other person. Totally. It's a person too. If I ask Johnny a question, he'll probably give me the right answer, but sometimes he might be wrong, like 1 in 1,000, more or less. But you have to know, like, okay, is this really the right thing or not? You have to test. You have to understand what it's giving you. But in that process, one of my favorite things to do is put in a long method that I know is fairly complex. I'm like, okay, this could probably be made simpler. And then to say, can this be made simpler? Can this be made more efficient? And oftentimes it'll be like, yeah, here you go. Every once in a while, and I ran into this, is how I learned this lesson. It introduced a bug because it didn't get the nuance of the order I was trying to do things in. So it did make it more efficient, but in the process, I lost the order of operations. So suddenly my end result, it was a list, was in the wrong order. And so I had to revert. But I've learned things from it. I've learned new coding techniques, new syntax. I've learned in my day job, I was doing some BigQuery stuff, and I learned a brand new thing there. I decided to use it for the first time there, and it made my query more efficient. Then I learned something that I didn't know I could do. So I think it's really good to use it as a sounding board, as a rubber ducky. See, I got a rubber ducky now. Rubber dragon.
Oh, yeah. Rubber dragon. I need one of those. That's cool.
Yeah. It's a great rubber ducky, and you can learn from it, but you shouldn't just trust it. It's not going to do things for you. It's going to be a person you can ask questions to. It's going to answer those questions, and then it's up to you to decide how to use that. And sometimes you do have to go back to it and be like, wait, that's not quite right. Or I know that this is wrong because of this. And if you updated things and you give it new code, it will remember your conversation and be like, oh yeah, based on that, now do this. And it's like, okay, it didn't know it first. Now it knows. It figured it out.
Yeah, I think it's definitely changing things for me. So it's Chat GPT, just the AI stuff in general is kind of crazy. I feel like we could probably have a whole episode about just AI stuff every week with all the things that are going on. In fact, I think with the GameDev Guild conference, we might even have like a full day of just AI stuff, just because there's so much stuff that's actually going on there. I think it'd be interesting. It's changing way faster than I thought it was, and it's a lot more exciting than the NFT stuff that was all big and popular last year. So,
oh my gosh.
It's yeah, I don't know what everybody else thinks in chat. If you prefer AI or NFTs, let us know. Just drop a comment.
One won't let you get as rich as quick, although I think some people have gotten very rich very quick from this. And is a little bit more about helping people do things in life. The other is you have the chance of getting rich, but maybe it's more about just getting money and nothing else.
So there was a follow-up comment from JT about the meetup that he's been doing, the mastermind group, and I just wanted to call it out because I think it's got some interesting points in here for discussion. So he said they had their 27th meeting last week, and that the group has evolved a bit from the original group, with people becoming inactive and new ones coming in. And I wanted to pull this up because this is exactly what I've seen happen in every single successful mastermind group. There are some people that their priorities with the group, they thought it was going to work out, or they had something happen really, really quick, like in the first month, their entire situation changed and they end up leaving, or they're just not able to make it, or something else happens. And then you find other people who, like, either you'll invite in or might even come asking. I mean, one of the guys in one of my regular meetups asked a friend who had been talking about the groups that I'd been doing, had told him about it, and a friend asked him and talked to him, and yeah, this is perfect for you, and started his business up in there. And well, he didn't start it in there, but joined there and grew. I don't want to spell the details, but they grew his business gigantically from like $100 a week to a lot. And it's totally different. It's totally different, like a service business. But still, having a group of people to talk to made a big difference. And I think that it makes a big difference for everybody. So if you can find something like that, jump into it. See if you can do it. And if your group has problems, find more people to join, new people to pop in. You guys want to take this other question about making a game with the goal to publish it? It says, I'm planning on starting a game with a goal to publish it. What are your thoughts on streaming game development? Would it be beneficial or simply a distraction? I think it's a huge benefit. You should definitely do it, especially if you're any kind of good at streaming it, or you're willing to just put in the effort to keep doing it and keep being good at it. As long as you're actually making forward progress on your game, it is definitely a good idea.
Yeah, and you don't even need to, stream every single, second of development. I mean, as long as you stick to some regular schedule, like you just stream, a couple hours once a week, I think that's just like something that can kind of help build up your community, build up some interest around your game. And yeah, it definitely would be a benefit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Streaming, my development has been wonderful. I think ultimately, when I'm streaming, I'm less efficient in my coding, but I'm more likely to see something through because people are watching, and it's like you're at the gym and somebody was with you at the gym, so you need to finish. But I'm less efficient, that's for sure, because I'm talking the whole time. Sometimes somebody will distract me in the stream or something like that. But the one thing that I struggle with, I'm not very good at making video content. So I'm better at streaming's fine, I can do that, but I'm not very good at making actual video content. I see a lot of developers who do like week logs where they'll basically go through, and this is what I did this week. I did this, and it's like a half hour or less of like really dense and really nice content that they must be recording throughout the week and then just compiling or something. I've always been jealous of that. So I think one of the big things for Keijo would be to decide how you want to stream too, like what type of content you put out. My hunch is that if you're looking for subscribers, you're looking for people to come back, making the video content that's more of like a week log type of thing is probably going to get you more subscribers and such than just continually, doing what I do, which is just stream whenever I feel like it. But doing both might be ideal. But if you can make that video content and spend a little bit of time on that, I think you might get some good returns on, on basically getting people interested in the game. And then, of course, when you get the game out, there will be more people who know about it.
Yeah,
I feel like if you can't get people interested in it too, then you should probably make some big adjustments. If you can't get anybody interested in the game before it comes out, then there's something else that you need to worry about.
Well, but yeah, I mean, just try some different things out, figure out what works for you, what kinds of things you like to do. And yeah, if there's anything resonating with your community, definitely, continue doing that.
Yeah.
Well, too much Rockstar. Anyway. So let's see. We got any other questions? Did you guys see anything else you wanted to pop up and answer? There was a little bit of chat about making a Chat GPT plugin for Unity. I think I saw somebody. Oh, I see it up there. And a couple people talking about that loosely. Do you guys think that would be interesting? Just an asset store plugin that allowed you to just tie into Chat GPT and ask questions and get text back?
Sure. There's already that. Apparently, I've seen a video and I meant to test it out. It's not terribly difficult, it looks like, to actually get it working in Unity. The big thing is, when it comes to the asset stuff, is you do have your secret key, so you got to be careful about the security about that. And I don't know if anyone who puts stuff on the asset store is thinking about your security and your key, or even their own. They might not even know security best practices and stuff. So keep that in mind when you consider this. But I think the process of connecting to it isn't terribly difficult. The tricky part will be how to use it, and that, when it comes to ChatGPT, that's really what it comes down to. It's a fun gimmick until you figure out how to use it to make your life better. And so I think the real thing that I hope to see in the coming year or two will be not systems to connect to it. That's going to be trivial. Will be tools that do something. So as an example, could a tool, allow me to take some multiple scripts, upload those to ChatGPT automatically and say, do you notice any connections between this that I can optimize? So like an ChatGPT optimizer, that'll just give you a list of potential optimizations.
Or find bugs, like a bug searcher. Right?
Yes, exactly. I found a bug yesterday. It was just a simple switch statement essentially, and 4 and 5 were the same. And I was like, oh shit, that's been there for a year or two. And I just happened to find it when I was refactoring. But yes, that kind of thing would be amazing. So I think that's what I hope to find from the plugins. So there are definitely videos out there. They made the API pretty simple. It's not complex, really.
Yeah, it looks pretty easy to use. So I don't know. I'm pretty excited. What is this?
Yeah, I'm actually curious from the people watching in the chat, like what kind of solutions and tools would you want to see built into Unity using ChatGPT, using that AI? Like, what do you want out of it? What gets you excited?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of excited personally about the idea of using it for some RPG character type stuff. I think that it could be cool, although I'm not sure how you go about making it interesting and not just like distraction stuff too. So that so if you can generate unlimited story or nearly unlimited stories for all of your NPCs, then how do you know like what NPC actually is like part of the game, like the quest? Like what part of the story is the part that actually matters, and how do you progress that and kind of get that through all of the noise, I guess, is one of my concerns. Because I think that the AI generation of that stuff is going to be cool. Like, walk up, go talk to some NPC about their family. But if their family has absolutely nothing to do with the story, then like, how do I get them to talk about the right things or the important things, I guess? And maybe that's just part of the way that the AI is done. You ask them about their family, go, yeah, they'll tell you about it, but you should probably ask me about this thing or something. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that? The whole AI for just NPCs in general.
I have an idea about it. Like with the game modules, after I produce this new version, I'm not going to feature creep this into it because it's too big. But I want to create a dialogue module with the because there's quests, and so there needs to be dialogue. That just has to be. And writing dialogue is, eventually I would probably hire somebody to write good dialogue in a good stuff like that. But for now, usually I would just go in there and just write some gibberish, just spend some time just writing blah, 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 blah. But the problem is when it comes to like a tree of dialogue that to your point, Jason, I think with all these different things going on, there's different quests, you change your story, you change the name of the world, you change things while you're developing, you add new things while you're developing. Suddenly there's a whole new town over there that didn't exist before, and they're like within only a kilometer of this other town, so they probably know each other, and they should be aware of each other. And making that rich dialogue is not easy for most of us, I think, and it's very time consuming. Then updating it later is going to be like, oh, now I have to update it again because I added this whole new thing. So I'm I've been trying to figure out, and I think I've got an interesting idea for it on how to essentially allow a user, myself in this case, to provide some basic backstory that I write myself, name of the world, name of the town, some general information. And then could I then have a system that knows all of the characters, knows all of their dialogue trees? I'm not thinking about letting the user give free text and then having the AI respond. It's not going to be a live service like that. I don't think the chatbot's ready for that yet. Plus, it shouldn't have to connect to the internet. There's going to be usage costs. It's slow and all that other stuff right now. Future, yes, but not right now. And so what I'm really thinking is I know what the users are what the player is going to be able to respond. You're going to say, you can talk to a person. They're essentially going to say, here's my backstory. I have a problem. Can you solve it? The answers are yes, no. Tell me more about this other thing. So if I can input some basic information about the person you're talking to, the prompts or the responses that the player might respond with, then you could have the system automatically create all of those trees of dialogue for you. And then if you go back and you change something higher in the tree, like suddenly you change the name of a character, or you say, now this character has a daughter, not a son, you can just redo all of it saying, hey, redo this, but now this information changed. And then all of that cascading stuff, anything that's connected to that can automatically be updated. I hope. No idea if it will work well. But I
could see that.
Yeah.
Just kind of using it as like a tool to kind of generate that initial text, and then you kind of have that all hard coded before you ship your game, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And then really, I mean, again, get an actual writer to do it before you ship your game.
Yeah. Clean it up.
Prototyping
give it like
process,
kind of a rough outline of
Yeah, with an RPG, I mean, look at any small scale RPG, you're going to have thousands of dialogue lines. I don't want to write that. This is where computational power comes into play. Let the AI write something for your prototype, and then eventually hire an actual writer to make it good and human and more compelling. But it just seems like this is a great use case for it.
I tend to agree. I think that's a really good idea. The pre-generating and just using it to generate content in general, I think is pretty good. The live runtime stuff, I think, is going to be a lot more prevalent in the next year or two. And I assume that it's just going to start getting built into a whole bunch of other systems. It's going to be built into all of the tools to just be able to ask the tool questions, and it'll have tool context specific info and be able to reply. That's kind of my expectation long term, but I don't try to make too many guesses on stuff because I tend to be wrong about them.
Oh, we'll all be wrong. It's like those old AT&T ads. You will. You will be wrong. But close enough, where it's going to be uncanny. But I think the guardrails, I think, are very important when it comes to stuff, because it's very compelling. I'm looking forward to the day that I can just talk to NPCs and they'll respond like a real person, right? But I don't want it to be out of the world. I don't want to be able to say, hey, have you heard of laser guns? And having it say like, well, the movie Star Wars, it needs to have guardrails, right? And so I think any AI chat system that lives in a game should, one, probably live on the device. So you don't have to connect to the internet. It's not going to be laggy. It's going to be fast. And part of that means making it smaller, and making it smaller also gives you guardrails, because now it has no idea what Star Wars is. It does. Right. You say, have you heard about laser guns or lightsabers? And it's going to be like, no, I've never heard I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's just trained on your lore Bible, and then you can maybe put in some parameters to say, it only knows about these types of things, and it, maybe only knows a glimpse of this, and yeah.
May give it like a date range for like the knowledge it has. Like knows like normal human from like 200 BC. Like average info or something, and then add on your extra content.
for sure. And I think part of that also includes this, so yes, get the lore Bible in there, but I think the model itself, the chat model, will be a bespoke model. And this is where, like, if you think about Stable Diffusion, they've got all these different models where it's essentially different code to produce different results. If you use the same prompt with a different model, you're going to get different results. So I imagine that ChatGPT is just this big, broad, open thing. It's a model itself, but you can imagine somebody coding a model for a very specific purpose. So Unity, Unreal, somebody's going to eventually come out with a model for NPC dialogue that is optimized to not go outside of this lore, to say, no, the lore is the thing. The lore is important. The dialogue for the other characters is important, and it's going to automatically just kind of know, and maybe it's even going to be built in to know who the player has talked to. So that type of stuff will be built in, and then it'll just feel more organic because it's designed to feel organic in that very specific context. And it's that's what it's meant for.
Yeah, it's an interesting problem because like you figure that, you're giving it kind of that lore Bible as your, basically training set to say, hey, this is kind of what you understand, but it also still kind of needs to have that like base training set of like, this is how you communicate like a human, So yeah, it is definitely like an interesting problem.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose you also, if you have, let's say, an alien race in your space trading game, and you want the alien race to talk like Yoda, right? So how do you gotta be able to also tell, hey, this character has this speech pattern. Here's a bunch of samples. They speak like this, and then either you have to give it that, or there has to be a way to create a model or an engine that has that built in. Right now, you just tell ChatGPT, talk like this, and it will, for the most part, do that, but eventually it will stop. It will it veers off in the way, but you can have some interesting things there.
I think we're running short on questions. There's one or two more that popped up here. I think I'll jump over to them in 1 second. Really quickly, though, before I forget, to tell everybody, let's see, where's the window? There we go. Tomorrow, for all of the students, we'll be releasing the next lessons for the boot camp, where we'll be diving into the new versions of the players, swapping out animations, dogs that bounce up and down and shoot lasers, and there's a lot of other stuff. There's 10 lessons in there. I've lost track of all the stuff, and if you're interested in that, there's a link. Where is it? So it was one of these many buttons that I've got here, right here. So if you're already signed up, tomorrow the new lessons will be coming out, and we'll also have the next expert session tomorrow at 11 a.m. for everybody who's got that head of the class pass. So make sure that you're signed in for that. I sent out an email for it, but just want to make an announcement so that if you didn't read the email and you happen to be watching live today, you'll see that we're going to be on there tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific. So basically like 24 and a half hours from now. Just be ready for that. Come join us live. And if you haven't seen the bootcamp, feel free to go check it out. You don't have to be there live for everything. It's just for the kind of the upgraded version of it. There's a lot of live stuff going on. But otherwise, you can go through and check out all the coursework stuff. Anyway, questions. There was one that I had right here that I was going to pop up about somebody who's in a situation that I've been in myself, where they're learning C#, not necessarily learning Unity, but they're learning C#. They're afraid to look for a dev job and just started working as QA, and they just kind of want to work in game development. One of my recommendations is, while you're doing your QA stuff, see if there's development work that you can do to improve the QA process. If you can start writing some unit tests for the code, or some other automated tests using something like Game Driver, where you just kind of automate playing and testing the stuff, that will that's one big step, because you're starting to write code and starting to do development stuff. Also, after you've been doing the QA for a little while, start talking to the actual developers. Make sure that they kind of know that you have some interest in it and you're curious about learning it, and see what they would recommend you learn. Say, hey, I'm interested in learning development stuff. What stuff would you learn if you were me? What stuff should I start looking at? Because they're going to recommend the things that are relevant to the company that you're working at, and that would be kind of required to get you moved up to that position. And if you start showing some proficiency in that, especially if you start doing it really quick, you start quickly showing that you can learn the things that you need to learn and do those things, especially when you start pulling them in on your QA projects a little bit, then it'll help a lot and make it a lot more likely that they're going to give you a promotion or just pull you up into a developer job. Of course, that completely relies on them actually having developer positions available and depends a lot on the specific company and the people. But that's been kind of my experience, that if you show them that you can learn the things that they need, ask them what those things are, you're pretty likely it's a lot easier to move up than you would think. And I've seen a lot of people come straight out of QA, go into development jobs, and then end up being lead developers and all kinds of other things later on. You guys got any other thoughts on that? Or did I talk too much?
No, I think that's great advice in general. I'll tell a brief story. At my day job, there was a guy who came on a month after me, a much younger guy than me. And they said, they're just doing this one job, but they kept saying things like, oh, what about that? Let me learn about that. Oh, can I sit in that meeting? Can I do this? And I thought to myself, this person, they're gonna go far. Like, of all the people in this team, that's really just it's entry-level team. Most of them are just kind of just coming in, doing their thing, getting lunch, going home. And this person, they were always asking questions, always asking to learn more about this. And they're still at the company. They've been promoted multiple times, and that's what they do. And so from the very beginning, you could see that the person who is asking questions, the person who is asking to be more engaged, is going to get noticed, going to be given the things they need to learn more, because the people who are essentially in control of that in one way or another are going to, give the resources to the person who wants it. And they're going to be like, yeah, if you want to help, then, by all means, come help and learn something. And then at some point there's going to be an opening. And they're going to say, hey, this person's been super helpful. Can we just kind of give it to them? So, yeah.
I think enthusiasm makes a lot bigger difference than people estimate. There's a question here about using the Steam Deck in the bootcamp. Are we going to be building to it in the bootcamp or in the video on YouTube? Because I did make a little short about it. And yes, we are going to be doing that for week 4 of the bootcamp. Building out to the Steam Deck is actually relatively simple, though. I was surprised at just how easy it is. There's a little bit that you've got to do, but we will be doing that. Although I assume that, there's only going to be a handful of people who are in the bootcamp and also have a Steam Deck laying around that they want to deploy to. So I may end up just making a YouTube video out of it as well too, just so that the few other people that have a Steam Deck that they want to develop to, which I'm guessing is like 100 people in the world, maybe like 1,000 at most that exist that bought a Steam Deck and want to screw around with game development on it. Probably pretty low, but yeah, we'll be covering that because I think it's fun. I'm one of those 100 people or so. Oh.
Have they announced any sales numbers on Steam Decks? Like how many sold?
I haven't seen them, but I haven't actually been looking, so I don't really know. Uri might know. I haven't released anything for it. So I've been paying very little attention. I got it because I thought it was a really fun device to play around with and experiment with, but I found that I don't use it very often. Then again, I find I very rarely use anything that has a small screen. It's less than the 49 inches here. It's difficult to see. Yeah.
Looks like as of October, they sold their first 1 million units. So there's a decent number out there.
Yeah. I figure probably like 1 out of 1,000 want to do development. So not counting the ones that are doing it at their job already and they just have one there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see if there are any other questions here. I don't know if there's anything else going on. Starting to run short on topics. You guys got anything else you wanted to talk about this week?
Actually, there was something kind of cool that I wanted to show. Let me see if I can pull up a video of it. I don't know if you all saw that PlayStation, they did kind of one of their state of play things where they kind of showcase some like new upcoming games and stuff like that. So there was this game called Humanity. I think they may have released it before. I'll send you a link to the trailer so you can pull it up on the stream. But it is a Unity game, and just judging by the look of it, I'm sure you'll see. I'm pretty sure this game was made with DoTs and ECS here. It's a super interesting concept. Basically, you kind of control this like dog, and you basically just direct this like crowd of people through like a kind of like puzzle type maze thing. So you can kind of see on the screen here. So yeah, you're basically that little dog, and then there's these massive crowds of people here. So
They're not all game objects, huh?
yeah, I'm not entirely certain that it is an ECS game. I don't have any confirmation, but I mean, just kind of looking at
it certainly looks like it should be if it's not.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think it looks super cool. It seems kind of like puzzly type game where you're moving this crowd of people through these different types of mazes and obstacles. And yeah, I saw this. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I want to remake this right now.
That does look pretty interesting. That's definitely unique. That's the kind of thing I expect to see from DoTs games, where they're like kind of pushing the bounds and doing something totally weird.
Yeah, I think it's just like a super interesting way to do cool game design with like high entity counts. Like, what are all the, cool things that you can do? At some point there's like kind of like battles and yeah, like this. And then, yeah, as the trailer goes on, there's like these giant, like swarms. Yeah. Like, I don't even know what the heck is going on here, but how cool does that look? Right.
Yeah. Oh, this looks really cool. Now, is this game came out already?
So there actually is a demo out right now, and you can download it on Steam and I think PlayStation for free. I haven't actually played it. I was considering maybe streaming it or something, but we'll see if I get a chance to do that. But yeah, so there is a free demo out now, and then I think the release date is in like March or May or something.
Oh, that is neat. Yeah, you gotta. I gotta try this out. I'll just grab this when I get home. Pop this on the PS5 and try it. Looks like a lot of fun.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, thanks for that. Anything else that was cool? Did they show anything else other than that really stood out?
That was definitely like the number one thing for me. There's I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, there's just kind of like random, stuff that I'm not super interested in, but it's still cool.
Cool. Oh, that's fine. I mean, I didn't even know about this. This one looks really neat. I just dropped the link for it in chat, by the way, for anybody who wants to go check that out. So I guess, I'm freezing. I was telling everybody before we got started. Actually, I think I sent everybody in Discord a picture. I was sitting in the car trying to warm up. It's so cold here, and it's not even that cold here. It's just that I have zero tolerance for cold, and it's like 40 degrees.
Cold there. It's the coldest it ever really gets there. So
yeah. I'm
dying. and as keen-eyed viewers may see, Jason is wearing 2 sweatshirts right now.
Yes, I have a Vimlark hoodie, and then underneath it, I have. Hold on, can you see it? Here, we'll have to go up. A Vimlark hoodie.
Doubling up on the Vimlark hoodies, nice.
Yeah, gotta double up. It's a little bit better, but I'm still freezing. Oh yeah, it's snowing there.
Well, I guess I am doubled up on the Unity sweatshirt and Unity t-shirt.
Very nice.
I had a jacket on, but then the heater came on. I was like, oh, I don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
So I like using heaters.
Who what?
A heater.
What is that?
Heaters.
Technology.
Yeah.
No.
Jason doesn't have a heater. That's part of the context is where Jason is right now. There's no heater.
Yeah, that is the big problem. Yeah.
Like,
and it's not even that the heat is just expensive. It's that in this building, for some reason, there's an air conditioner, but no heater. I didn't realize that until I went to turn the heater on, and I went to slide it over and realized that the little slider for the heat part is not in there. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, it's not the issue that everybody else has for you. Yeah, the heating bill's gone nuts too. And I don't know if you guys have seen that too, or I assume it's happening everywhere. The gas bill's gone skyrocketing. Like ours, I think, went from normally being $30 or $40 to $1,000. It's freaking nuts. So yeah, it's cold at my house too. The gas is off. But oh man, but it's warm in the car. So anyway, if we don't have anything else, I guess we can wrap it up with just a couple quick links. Show everybody that Battle Sound Library again. If you want to go check that out, hear some awesome sounds and support Andrew's work. Or if you want to do a VR hackathon, Johnny, you got this hackathon. You said it was opening up Friday, right, for the actual competition part? But
yeah,
going
right now it's kind of in the learning period. So you basically have this week up until Friday. We're going to be kicking things off Friday morning. I believe 9 a.m. Pacific time is when we're going to host our little kickoff session. And then you'll have a week to create an awesome VR experience for, again, your chance to win at some cash prizes of up to $4,000 in total prizes.
Nice. That'd be cool. I'll have to check that out. I'll watch. I'm sure I won't be competing, but I want to come watch the stream and see how that's going. And then
we did a little stream on Friday for the learning kickoff where we just kind of showed people how to get set up in Unity. And we used the XR interaction toolkit, which actually is super cool if you haven't used it already. A lot of cool stuff out of the box. And then my co-host basically did kind of an Unreal setup of how to get set up in Unreal for VR stuff.
Oh, nice. And for everybody who hasn't done it before, on the Unity side, is it still as easy as before? You just kind of plug in your device, drop in an SDK, and you can pop on the headset and see around the world and everything's tracked? Or is there more to it, or is it even easier than that?
Yeah, it's still pretty easy to set up. You're going to want to get your, Oculus Link set up on your computer or Steam VR, depending on whatever headset you're using. And then, basically, so there actually is a VR template that you can use like from the Unity Hub. But it's actually not recommended to use that because it kind of uses some older stuff. So it's best to just go in with a blank project and then import the XR interaction toolkit. And then that's going to basically give you everything you need from that.
Oh, okay. And it's just nice and easy like before. That's awesome. I really loved how easy it was to do VR stuff when it first came out. I remember when I got my first VR headset and I popped it and I was like, oh, this is freaking, like, I just popped it in an existing project and I was able to look around. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do anything. I can just see in here and look around like I'm a little character.
Live in, your worlds that you've created and just like see them in a different perspective. It's just always super cool to do that.
I totally agree.
One of the first things I did was I did the exact same thing, Jason. I was like, can I do it? Works, and it works. And I was like, holy shit. And so I made a cave with a dragon and I was like, whoa.
It's like one thing when you see the little dragon on the screen that you're creating right there, but then you like go stand next to it and you're like looking up at it and it's like,
whoa. It's dark, you hear the sound and you're like, oh, this is good.
That's pretty much I think I put it in Pantheon first and I started running around playing the MMO. Then I brought it over on a laptop to the lead dev's house, and showed it to him. It's amazing. Of course, I never ended up putting VR into it because totally different kind of game. But it looked it looked really cool. It was a lot of fun. All right, the last thing I wanted to share was real quick, just that bootcamp link again. If you're interested, you can join now, and the new lessons will be coming out tomorrow. We'll be diving into some more advanced graphics, slightly more advanced AI for NPCs, and I've actually lost track. There were so many things in there. We got local multiplayer and lots of other fun stuff. So if you're interested, you can check that out. And then next show, I think it might be Friday. I don't know if you guys are available Friday instead of Sunday this time, but I think it might be ready to jump back to Fridays. Things have normalized out again. So it'll either be this Friday or Sunday. I guess we'll see. Maybe you'll see the link on YouTube. It'll pop up, and I'll try to let everybody know. So,
nice.
All right. Oh, any final words, guys?
Nope.
No, I mean, it's just Sunday, so we get The Last of Us on tonight. So definitely excited for that.
Oh yeah.
You guys been watching it at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah, Andrew.
Awesome.
I don't have it, so I don't have a TV. I've got this widescreen, but whenever I try to watch stuff on this widescreen, I'm like, eh. And then I'm sitting on my computer, so I'm thinking the whole time, I'm thinking I should be working. I should be making something. So after like 20 minutes, I'm like, I'm not that into it. But I am moving soon, knock on wood, this week. And if that happens, there's a space that's meant for a TV, that's pre-wired for a TV through the wall and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, at some point, I'll need to make a little bit more money to buy it, but at some point I might buy a TV, and then I can watch. I think the first thing I want to watch is Top Gun 2 because I haven't seen that yet either. And I would like to.
Just a heads up, Andrew. TVs are pretty cheap. You can
I know,
probably
I
find
get
one
that,
for free
though.
on OfferUp. People are giving them out. If you'll take one that's not.
My brother wants to give me one, but I think his is a little bit thicker than the new ones. Like the new ones are like this thick.
Oh, I don't know. That extra inch there. No, I feel you though. But yeah, it'd be nice. And I totally understand the whole trying to do any content watching from your computer and then feeling like, oh, well, I could watch this, but I could code while I'm watching it. And then you start coding and you're like, I'm not even watching this anymore. I'm going to turn this off and watch it later.
That Unity icon on your desktop just itching at you the whole time.
Well, it's usually open. It's not even closed. I never end up closing it.
Most of the time when I play games, I'm sitting here thinking, as soon as I start playing, I start thinking, oh, I should make my game. I should be working on my game. So I can play games, and sometimes I'm just too tired to even think about coding, so I just play game. But most of the time, I'm sitting there thinking I should be doing something else. So
I feel you. It's hard not to be productive when you're sitting in front of the computer, especially once you have your code editors open and everything else.
Yep.
All right. Well, my final thing is just please like, subscribe, and share the stream. Drop a comment below. Let us know if you got any thoughts or feedback or anything else. And we'll see you in just a few days. A 150-inch projector screen to watch it on. That's the way to go. And I'm going to recommend you do the same, Andrew. If you got a space, get a projector, set up the screen. It's night and day. You need a darker room.
One story. I did live in a place once, a big loft in Oakland. And it's the one by the freeway with the brick building. I lived there and it faced the freeway. So you've seen my house probably, but it's had a big giant wall. So I got a projector. I didn't have a TV then either, but I got a projector and I would estimate a 14-foot screen on the wall. And it was great for movies. Amazing for movies. I tried playing Civilization on that though, and I was like, okay, this might be a little bit too much for playing games. It was far enough away where you didn't have to go too far, but it was just so big. I was like, okay. But it was fun. It was a good time. So yes, I love projectors.
Yes, a lot more fun for football games and stuff too, like playing Madden or something like that, where it makes sense to just be kind of paying more attention to the one spot. But yeah, the movies are great on a big giant screen. So highly recommended if it's an option. And it used to be about the same price as TVs, but TVs have plummeted in price over the last couple of years. So I don't know if that's the case anymore. All right. Well, I'll hit the button, stop talking about random stuff, and see everybody else real soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and all that stuff. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
I didn't hit the button.